All right, we are live. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori, and today we have Motley Crew episode 31 with
31. Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I'm trying to catch up to Jimmy. With Theo from Rekindled Reader. We've been friends pretty much since you started your booktube channel.
I think so. I've been stalking you since then. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds about right. You know what, Andrew? I'm sorry that I've ruined
I'll
your
take
day.
the blame.
Maybe
it's fine. We were talking.
Late. We were talking. Okay.
Sorry.
You should know this. You're a booktuber and you do live streams. We have good chats before live streams.
5 means 502. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the weirdest thing, I think. One of the weirdest things about doing booktube is recognizing I thought creatives were not punctual people. I have been proven wrong. Because my chats are always like, let's go. Like, we're late. 2 minutes later.
We've been waiting. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So hello, everybody. Hi, John. Hi, Fina.
What's up?
I'll send you my 79 cents of AdSense this month, Andrew. Hey, Zamar. So for anybody who is new to Theo, please go down in the description box below and click the link to his channel and give him a subscribe because he makes some pretty awesome content. I know it's a long shot, Pete. I know it's a really long shot to call somebody creative on BookTube, but you know. So Theo, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, you want to introduce yourself and say who you are?
I never know how to do this because I always feel like am I trying to pitch myself as like a cool human being or like am I supposed to pitch the channel? Like I don't know. Like I don't know. My name is Theo. I have a booktube channel that I kind of do sometimes, and I sometimes read and sometimes talk about those books on my booktube channel. But yeah, that's it. I've just been more importantly, I'm friends with Tori, and that's what brings me here. So that's it. I don't have anything cool to tell you about myself. I'm not good with icebreakers. I don't have like a fun fact. Like I'm pretty, this is it. Like I'm pretty boring. This is a Friday night. This is the highlight of my weekend.
Hey,
I'm not ashamed. It is what
hashtag
it is.
Adulting, honestly though. Like I knew it became like, you become an adult when you go to a store and you are just so excited to pick out like new pans for your kitchen.
Okay. How about this? Fina was in the chat, 100%. Fina was in the chat. Do you know what I sent her a picture of just before I got on here?
New pans?
No, not my pants. That'd be weird. Friday night, I sent her a picture of the Dunkaroos that I just ate because I'm a child. And it's a Friday night, but I'm an adult. And I worked hard and I deserve it. So I had some Dunkaroos. So
that's right.
It is what it
is. One of my favorite memes or TikToks I think I've ever seen was this woman wearing like a full suit of armor with a sword. And she's just like, I'm an adult.
Come at me. Like what? Yeah.
And I'm unsupervised. And that's really unsafe. And I was like, yes.
We're allowed to go anywhere, spend money on anything. Like we want. Yeah. It's funny being this age. Now I don't have kids and you do, but like I try and imagine, and I like as I get older, I think, oh my God, like my parents, when they were my age, they were just giant children too. They had no idea what they were doing.
Had no idea.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's why it always kind of makes me smile when I hear somebody say like, and I understand like, oh, I'm not ready to have kids yet or whatever. And I'm like, guys, I don't know how to break this to you, but like, there isn't a point where you're like, I'm ready now. And then you have the child and you're like, wow, I was perfectly ready for that.
Now I know, like maybe TMI, maybe not. It's BookTube. We'll talk, whatever. Yeah. Me and my wife are trying for a baby right now. We're trying to start a family. And every day I think like, should I be a parent? Like I've been ready for a long time, but am I? Yeah. Are you ever actually fit? Already, like, I don't know.
No.
You know, it's weird. So,
I mean, I think we also overcomplicate it in a lot of ways because really 100%. What I have, like, my parenting goals have changed drastically since I was pregnant with my first child because I had the laundry list of I'm going to do all these things and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day.
I'm making the list now. Yeah.
Right.
This is how I would do this. And yeah.
Yeah, and you're the best parent ever before you have kids. And then you have the kids and you're like, oh my gosh, who thought this was a good idea? This is like, I'm supposed to keep these children alive. Really, it's just like, not to get sappy, but at the end of the day, if I have shown them that I love them and they are fed and safe, like that's unfortunately better than a lot of kids get, which is really sad, but also encouraging as a parent to be like, just loving your kids and like, it'll be fine.
Being present. Yeah. Like I didn't grow up with a whole lot of money. Like my dad worked 3 jobs, immigrant parents, didn't really speak English very much when I was that age. And my mom stayed home to raise me and like didn't have a lot, but I remember always spending time with them. I remember the love and affection and like, that's, I feel like the most developmental important piece, right?
100%.
And that's what I remember. I remember the feelings, not the stuff or the time doing this or that. I remember the feeling of everything that we did together, right? So I feel like I turned out fine, right? They could have done worse.
I'm just kidding.
Depends on the day. It depends on the day. So.
Yeah, I always use that same excuse. I'm like, oh, I've turned out okay. And I'm like, well. Yeah, I totally agree. And I grew up, like my dad was gone all the time because he worked far away and was like a workaholic. And so like just
that's tough.
Now seeing Ben, my husband, who's an absolute wonderful human being, as everyone knows, and like he's so incredibly emotionally present for his kids. And it's one of the best things about being married to him is watching him just be that very present dad for my kids. And I love that so much. Kate says, please stand up and tell us a fun, interesting fact about you.
Oh, that is my nightmare. That is my nightmare. Like I never know what to say. I'm always at these these networking things, and we just had an all-day conference at my company, and we had a bunch of new people, and we're all supposed to, talk about ourselves, quick intro. Like I never know. I just want to wear a sign that just says like 3 bullet points. Here's how boring I am. Please move along. Like I don't, and I'm not like, I'm an extrovert. I like people. I like talking. I can public speak. Like I don't mind. I just hate it. I just hate it.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, like that little chit chat type stuff is really.
Totally. Yeah. Like I'll get up and present the whole thing. Like no problem. I don't want to do this whole icebreak thing. Like let's just please. Yeah. So
can we just get to the deep conversation right away? Thank you.
Please. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Derry is leaving us for Jimmy and Dr. Chase.
I know. It's fine. Well. I get it.
Yeah. We know who the cool kids are, right?
I love Derry.
Wizard has a question for you. Inquiring minds.
Yeah, that's a lie. I feel like it's the way that I sit. And it's, maybe the camera angle. Like I have this like fun thing about me where I like gain 20 pounds and like lose 20 pounds and like gain 20. It's really fun. And I don't know how to stop that. Maybe it's the Dunkaroos. I don't know. It's funny because I love working out. I love working out at the gym. I love doing physical things. And then I just don't for a while. And food and I have always had a complicated relationship. So that's a thing as well. Yeah. Basically, I'm taking this comment to be like, hey, you're not super ugly. Like, good for you. Slow clap. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's all. I'll just take it for what it is. Thank you.
Yeah. Man, he's like doing the full interrogation today.
Yeah. I mean, I am a groomer. I do like to groom. Like I'm a little bit disheveled right now. I told you it's a very long week. Caught me at a bad time. It's been hectic, but I do like to shave and groom.
Do you have any facial hair left when you do groom? Because
it's funny. Yeah, I mean, it grows quick, man. It's like it's frustrating. You should see the bathroom. Yeah, it's not. It's just hair everywhere. My wife, she hates it.
I live with a man who has facial hair, so I totally get that. Yeah.
My wife, like after we clean the place, right? She'll hear the razor go on and she's like, no, like not again. Come on. Like, why? There's hair everywhere.
You need to get one of those like beard bib things that attaches to the mirror.
She got me one. And it's it's quite nice. Nice. It helps a little bit, but not a whole lot. But yeah. You know what? I would love to grow like a really thick, like like long, like really cut kind of like beard. You know, those guys that can just like grow the, I can't.
Yeah.
I get to that point and I look homeless. And that's fun for a day or two, but I work in finance and, you know, it's not great. Pull up to a client like, hey, I'm doing it. I'm trying a thing here. Just give it a couple weeks, right? It's not going to fly.
Right.
So
yeah. I mean,
the bibs are a lifesaver, Pete. Yes, they are. Absolutely. They really do help.
This is the funniest thing. So my channel and just booktube in general, this particular niche of booktube, I have said how many times that I need to get one of those crochet beard hats.
Oh my God.
Because like,
that would be awesome.
Theo, it's going to happen someday. The next time I'm on a live stream where it's me and like 3 guys with beards, I'm 100% going to show up with a crochet beard hat.
Dude,
because
that would be so funny. That would be awesome.
It would be really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm always going out and Ben's like, oh, who are you doing a live stream with? Like me and 3 bearded guys. There's
what
so
else?
Many
Yeah,
beards
exactly.
which is great. Beards are great, but
I know a lot of competition. It's annoying. Like, what's my thing now? You know, I don't know.
I don't know.
Face tattoos. I'm going to get face tattoos. I'm going to get a bridge 4. Bam, right there. What do you want?
I don't know if that's going to be a good look for your financial clients either.
Probably not. Probably not. A little bit of makeup. You can make that go away, right? They have tattoo removal now. It's fine. What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing. It's fine.
Right? This is what I mean. We're adult. We're children. Are we ready to have children? Like, what if my kid wants tattoos? What do I say? What do I do? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
mean, I have the benefit of being able to tell my kids that I thought about what I wanted for 13 years before I actually got one. So,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Dad, I want a tattoo. Perfect. In 20 years, come back. We'll talk about it.
See if you still want that same
I'll
one.
pay for it. I will pay for it. But let's chat in about a decade at least. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Because I feel like, speaking of tattoos, since we're on the topic, I feel like so many people just kind of like impulse get tattoos, which is beyond me. Beyond me. Because like I have to think about it and imagine what it's going to look like and sit with it for a while to be like, okay, I'm permanently putting this on my body. Is it something that I actually am going to want in 15 years? You know,
What's crazy to me is seeing people like I've been to tattoo shops, as you can tell. And some people will come in and literally they'll be like, oh, like they'll pick up the book and like they'll scroll through. And this happened to me while I was getting tattooed, this like big custom design that I helped put together. And they'll just scroll through and be like, I want that, I think. And kind of like this. And then they'll get it done. And I couldn't imagine going into a shop, not knowing what I want, scrolling through a book, beautiful artwork, but like just picking something and being like, yeah, that'll do it. I just I just couldn't. I'd be terrified. So
well, I think I'm such a I like things to have meaning. Yeah, and I want them to have meaning. 100%. Like if I'm gonna get like I want to get another tattoo. I'm so excited. Eventually, my next tattoo, I want to get a back tattoo that is like a rose vine up my spine with 4 roses for my kids because I have 3 and 1 in heaven, and I want to have the 4. I think it would be absolutely gorgeous. I've been sitting on that for 10 years now. So
yeah, if you still want it, like, you know, if you still want it,
I do.
Why not?
That's my next one because I'm a glutton for punishment. So I was like, why not a spine tattoo? Definitely.
Yeah. Where will hurt the most?
Be fine. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. I have a high pain tolerance. It's fine.
Yeah, man. I don't.
Fina is getting Dunkaroos at Target.
She was like, guess where I'm going to buy Dunkaroos. Love it.
I need that. Totally agree, Ryan. There's a lot of that in life. Yeah.
But the important thing is that we acknowledge that, we accept it, and then we just try to do the best we can. Don't pretend like we have it. Like, it's okay to not have it figured out. You know, it's okay that we're all just we're all going through it for the first time together. So it's cool.
You and Kay are doppelgangers, apparently.
Dude, right. If only. I'll take that as a compliment because definitely.
Yeah.
She's a vibe for sure. Yep.
Everyone go subscribe to Kay's Hidden Shelf.
100%.
Pete wants to know what part of finance you work in.
Ew, that's so boring, Peter. So I'll say I'm designated as a certified financial planner, CFP. I don't practice, but I can do wealth management and whatever if I felt like it. I'm a chartered financial analyst, which is like around the world it's known. And that is for people that are in investment management and manage like hedge funds or are analysts and corporate finance and whatever. I did a little bit of corporate finance, a little bit of mergers and acquisition stuff. I fell into commercial banking, corporate banking. So I manage a portfolio of corporations and manage their lending and their acquisitions and all this kind of stuff. So I'm basically a corporate lender, and I do a little bit of private equity and corporate finance and stuff, and a little bit of consulting and stuff on the side. But yeah.
That all sounded incredibly impressive, and I could never do it.
It's all very pretentious. You'll notice the diploma on the back wall there is a CFA designation, and it's really obnoxious because you can't. That costs like $500 to frame. My parents did it for me. It comes up in a rolled poster tube, and it's like, I don't know. It's like 4 feet by like 3. It's ridiculous. It's just kind of far away.
It's huge.
And my parents paid to have it framed because they were like, oh, we're so Hercules, we're so proud, and Greek parents, and so yeah, it fits nowhere. Like you cannot put it like anyway. So that's what that is. It took a really long time to get, and it hasn't really helped me, but it was interesting. So yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of degrees can be filed under
okay.
that.
Let me tie this boring CFA into reading. That took so much studying, so many hours, so many long weekends spent up at the university, 12-hour days, just study, exam. And it was hectic. I was like brain dead for like a decade after doing all that academia. It was terrible. Like I couldn't read for fun. I'd get headaches, like proper headaches trying to read.
I believe it.
It was like a decade long slump. So like notwithstanding the fact that I tried to read, but like couldn't, I also didn't feel like I felt like reading. Like I couldn't get the joy until COVID. Found I would read here and there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Nowhere like now. And then I found BookTube, and I found some books that got me excited again. I read Mistborn. I was like, oh my God, like fantasy is like fun. Like it just sparked something in me. I reread like the Harry Potter books and blah, 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 whatever, years ago now. And I just kind of got back into it. And so, yeah, that really killed me for a long time. So school is hard.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of had the same, kind of a similar ish experience because I was a English major.
Yeah.
So I have a bachelor's of art in English and theater minor. So like just tons of reading, tons of academic writing, and Ben and I we went to a really small private school, and we actually changed the requirements for the English senior capstone program because we went to our advisor and we were like, look, neither of us are interested in going into academic writing. We both hate it. Can we add something to this capstone program that allows for something creative?
Yeah.
Because like I will write a self-analysis and give you like 10 chapters of a novel, like, which is like honestly more work than what my peers were doing.
But it sparks the joy, right? Like you actually care. Yeah.
It's like, let me write something, please, that isn't an 100%. Essay, like a, I don't know, postmodern deconstruction of Sense and Sensibility or whatever. Like just let me write something fiction, please.
Totally. I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
So,
Pete's an accountant. Cool. Right on.
Yeah. Finance people. Just kidding.
I know, Pete, you asked me like how long it took to get through. I was really lucky, and there's 3 levels, and I was really lucky where I passed each level the first time. There are people, particularly level 2 is very difficult. To put it in perspective, I knew a guy that had a PhD in economics from like Europe, and he failed the economics section of that exam like 3 times in a row. Like it was brutal. So I was lucky. I passed all of them on the first try. Not everyone can do that. I feel like I got a little bit lucky too. So yeah, it only took 3 years, whereas some people spend like 7. So yeah, terrible.
Yeah, that just sounds awful.
Yeah, it hurts me to talk about. It's just like so much. He knows this. Like, are you a CPA?
Yeah.
Pete? Like, are you like? It's man, like school. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's why I read for fun. That's why I read for fun now. You guys, I found what works. Yeah.
So on that note, because that was actually one of the questions I had for you is like, obviously reading is something that brings all of us on BookTube a lot of joy, but I always find it
Mhm.
really interesting to talk about individual, like, what are the it things for you in a book? What does a book have to have in it? Have you noticed some patterns of like, I love when
Yeah.
this trope is used, or when, you know, this kind of story structure? Do you have like those it things for you?
I only like romantasy now. Like I only like ACOTAR.
Really?
And no, I
Okay.
don't. I actually didn't mind it.
That's a
I actually didn't mind it, which was surprising. Anyway, I'll talk about that later.
yeah,
To answer
please.
your actual question, yeah, if I tried to answer this like a year or two ago, I don't think I'd be able to articulate it, and I don't think I would have read
BookTube is great
enough.
for that.
Yeah, like I wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to pinpoint it, but now I can kind of. I'm much more of a plot-driven reader than a character-driven reader, and I do
Okay.
need good, compelling characters, but I can't just have that. I need like
Right.
shit to happen and
Yeah.
a little bit of I need pacing to like work.
Mm.
I love a slow burn. I love a slow book. We were talking before the chat that I might have some neurodivergencies and I tend to stray. And so
Yep.
I need to like feel compelled. I need to want to pick up the book
Yeah.
every time I look at it. It doesn't always happen, but yeah, characters for sure, plot 100%. And then
Okay.
in terms of tropes and stuff, like I found myself really gravitating towards like, you know, the I don't know, the what is it called? Like the unexpected hero, you know, or like
Reluctant hero, or
yeah,
the
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. But not so much reluctant because that can kind of get annoying, but the person that
Yeah.
kind of like the underdog, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm kind of a proponent for that kind of story. I
Yep.
definitely like quest fantasy. I like the old school orphan farm boy goes on a quest. Found family's huge. I'm an only child. My dad's an only child. We don't have a lot of family. Like I never had kids
Sure.
around me growing. Like I just when I find a good friendship, a platonic male friendship, I
Yeah.
was blessed with really, really close best friends for many, many, many years. Some of with whom I've fallen out actually, which is not great. So when I read that, it's like I really like that.
Yeah.
I tend to not get super invested in romances. Like they need to really be done well,
Yeah.
and they can kind of put me off for the broader story. If they fit, beautiful. They don't always do. Sometimes they feel forced, as you probably well know. But yeah, found family. I love like I love Motley Crews, 100%, right?
Eh,
Yeah,
they're all right.
whatever. Yeah, and the problem is I find that my mood changes so often that I never quite know what I'm going to want. Like it's
Sure.
just
Yeah,
sometimes it
that's
hits the
fair.
mark. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really know what I want right now. And sometimes it's just not. And so I put stuff down, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's interesting you mention pacing, because one of the things that I've started, and I gotta say, like, BookTube has helped me articulate how I feel about what I'm reading way more than my college courses ever did. Like,
Right. How
because
interesting.
because there
Yeah.
I almost learned more what each individual professor wanted to hear, as opposed to what I actually thought was going on, and dissecting it that way. So
Yeah.
BookTube has almost been like, I've been on BookTube for 4 years now, so like I have a degree.
Crazy.
You know.
Totally. That's funny.
And it's kind of like that, because I discovered that for me, I do really like something more fast paced, like Red Rising, one of my favorite series. But I also loved Long Price Quartet, which is not fast paced. And it is a very like deep, intimate dive into these characters' lives. And it's absolutely brilliant. But I think what I settled on was I want it to be consistent. Right? Like whatever it's doing, I need that consistency of, okay, we're in for a good action, fast paced, something like happening on every page. That's fine, as long as that's what I'm expecting. But if it's like, hit me with this crazy action filled prologue that's really snappy and fast, and I'm like, all right, let's go. And then everything just doesn't, like, it just slows way down for hundreds of pages. Yeah. Then I get frustrated with it.
I think I'm exactly the same way. I think that's a brilliant way to put it. Like if it's hitting the mark for me, and if I'm in the mood for it, and if that's what I'm vibing with, it has
Sure.
to stay consistent. That's 100% the case. Some people like the roller coaster, and there's
Yeah.
sometimes, as a writer, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but oftentimes maybe as a tactic, like there can be a deliberate change in
Yep.
pacing or tone or whatever, and you can get a little bit
Yep.
more, different vibes at different times. I like consistency. If I'm in it right from
Yeah.
the beginning, like it just needs to hold it.
Yeah.
Or the alternative for me is it can slowly ramp up.
Yes.
And I love when it ramps up in just the right way, but never
Yep.
the opposite, because people hate that probably
Yep.
altogether. So yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of writing, yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I kind of look at it as cooking with salt, like a little bit in media, what's the word I'm looking for?
Moderation.
Thank you. I was
You're
like,
welcome.
mediation is not the correct word. Moderation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, like in moderation, yes. Yeah. However, if you're roller coastering me every 5 minutes, it kind of starts to desensitize me to and detach me from what's happening within the character world. And severs my immersion also to some degree.
Do you think that's why writing, like that's one of the reasons why writing is so hard? Like I can't do what you do because you're a brilliant writer, and maybe we'll talk about that. But like, do you think that that's part of the issue? Like a lot of people can write. A lot of people might have decent prose. A lot of people might be able to write a killer chapter, right, of a book. But it's really tough to deliver on all of those things together and make it work. And I feel like that's why when people say like writing is difficult or I could never be a writer, that's what they mean. The synthesis of everything. Yeah, man. I don't know how y'all do it, to be honest. So
well, we talked about flying by the seat of our pants earlier.
Fake it till you make it. Chat GPT.
And that's right. That's one of the reasons why I will always stand on the hill of fantasy being a very difficult genre to write, because most of the time we're working with a large number of perspectives, more often than not. Yep. And you have to have, you're not just doing like, okay, storyline A arc. You also have storyline B arc and storyline C arc and storyline D arc. And somehow they all have to like weave together, and it all has to make sense. And you're always thinking about those readers who are going to be like, so I noticed an inconsistency, right? Because those are the terrifying readers for those of us that write fantasy.
That is not me. I'm like blindfold. They just take me on a journey. And if her hair changes color, I could give a shit, like whatever.
Right, exactly. I very rarely describe in depth. Like I might give some basic physical details about my characters.
It's risky. Yeah,
it is. But I also, I like to, this is another one of my pet peeves in writing. I don't want all the details.
No.
And I
want to imagine whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a whole conversation with Nico from Nico's Book Reviews about prose and how are two completely opposite forms of immersion, because Nico really likes prose where every detail is just beautifully laid out and carved into this wonderful thing. And that helps him get really immersed. On my end, that's too much. I'm like, if you're giving me every detail, where am I supposed to, like, I want to be in the story. I don't want to watch it. I want to be in it. And I want to be able to fill in the gaps with my own imagination, because that keeps me engaged.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. It's tough. And how about this? I think I remember hearing Brandon Sanderson say he writes every perspective start to finish. And then he sort of weaves them together. That would be super hard. Do you, how would you do that? How would you tackle it? Like write a few chapters of one and then a few chapters of another until they sort of align in the, timeline of your world or whatever, and then continue? Like,
I think for me, and I know I have friends who also, Thiago, who wrote Touch of Light, etc. He wrote the same way, where he would take one POV and just write the whole thing and then go back and do POV 2. I can't do that because I need to see the bigger,
whole thing play out, right?
Yeah, I need to know.
I would be that way too. Yeah.
Because
but that's
so
harder
often,
and it takes longer probably.
100%. My first drafts take forever because And the other thing is too, even if those, like I have two POVs in the Bloodstones that are very separate from each other, right? They're in different countries, and but there's little things that I try to like parallels, and I want to like give little Easter eggs here and there that like, if it, for the people that really like that kind of stuff, that like on, you know, maybe on that reread, or the people that take notes while they read, which is
I wish I had the time and the attention span
I don't
to do
either.
that, but
I can't either. But yeah, I mean, I think it's such an organic process for me now that I also have to be immersed when I'm writing it, because I feel like I have to get into, and that's part of the hyper focus, right? Is like, I have to really zone into that space and be in the story with the characters and noticing all these little details and figuring out what I need to share with the reader and what isn't important.
Right.
So
sounds like too much work. I'm just going to read stuff. And
it is a lot of work.
Can write it. Yeah. Man, I don't know how you guys do it, but anyway.
Well, and
I've romanticized the idea of writing something, and it's funny. Like, I'll say to my wife sometimes, like, I'm going to write a book. She's like, don't you dare. Like, that's my thing. Like, if one of us is going to write a book, like, it'll be me one day. And I'm just like, I don't know. I might get it. I might get to it first. Like, so, but I probably can't. Don't tell her, but I probably can't.
As well, you can. I promise you can. Like, if I can do it, I promise.
Sure,
no, but the thing is, though, like, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done personally. Like, if I'm excluding, like, you know, parenting and all of the obvious answers, but it's kind of a similar thing in the sense that it's so hard creatively, and it drains a lot out of you, and because you put so much of yourself into what you're writing. It's a vulnerable craft, right? But seeing that book and pulling that fresh first paperback out of the box, there's nothing that compares to that creatively. And seeing someone get it, like when you read a review where someone just loved something you did that you didn't think anyone was going to notice, but you put it in there just kind of for you, and somebody picked up on it and really was like, wow, this is so cool. That's so, like, that connection between that kind of trio symbiosis between the author, the reader, and the characters is so special. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, you never know until you try.
I kind of know, but you never know. We
gotta start somewhere.
I might give it a shot. That's true. It's true.
Yeah, if you go into it, and I do see a lot of new authors kind of trip on this, where they'll start out and they go into that first draft and they're like, they kind of want to jump a whole bunch of levels for their first book and be like, this is going to be the most amazing thing I ever write. I'm like, probably not. That's okay. Like, just write it, get it out there, and then keep growing and keep learning more about who you are as an author, because you can read, you know, a PhD's worth of books on the craft of writing, and none of it will make up for you needing to learn what your process is.
Right.
Because it's going to be bits and pieces from all sorts of things. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so like, I remember, like, I picked up Phased, and I remember messaging you and being like, holy shit, dude. Like, cause I didn't know what to expect. I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, you're a writer. Like, you can, like, this is great. Actually, I remember messaging you right away. And then I put it down because I went through a massive slump. And I think that was around the time, maybe either before or after I stopped BookTube. And I wasn't reading much of anything. I couldn't get immersed in anything. And I was surprised because I was like, am I going to like this story of these like two teenage sisters that are like, whatever, werewolves or something? Like, I don't know. But I was like super into it, and I was telling my wife about it. And anyway, so I really want to go back and finish that. But I remember thinking like, holy crap, like, that's amazing. And then obviously I do have this one on deck that I'm going to pick up soon. And I wanted to say, when you said like you pick up your first whatever and, you know, you hold, how come your book feels better than like every paperback I have? Like it's is it because you're a reader and you just like, you know what we want? Like, I could knock somebody out with this.
So
and it smells good.
Right. So here's the secret. So you got one from my website, correct? Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yep.
So there's two sources. So if you buy on Amazon, you get one version of my book. And if you buy from me, I order them through Ingram Spark, which is another website that we use to
I've heard of that one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
In my opinion, like they're both fine. Like they're
Yeah.
both fine. But the Ingram Spark version, it's a little bit silkier. It's a little bit
so
like
nice.
It's so nice. So I always tell people, like, when you're buying a signed copy from me, you're not just getting the signed copy from me. It's also like a slightly higher quality book.
Yeah.
And the Amazon ones are fine. Like there's nothing wrong with them, and they're also beautiful. But yeah, those Ingram Spark ones
this
are
was
really
just
nice.
This was just extra. Like imagine talking to, like, I don't know, we're all nerds. Imagine talking to a non-book nerd book reader about like the texture of a paperback and the floppiness and the heft and weight.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the type of paper, and like imagine telling someone about that, right? Like this is one of the nicest feeling books that I own.
Thank
and
you.
I remember getting it and I was like, what the hell? This is like super pro. Like, I don't understand. It was like, anyway, so.
Well, I'd like to take more credit for that, but most of that's just Ingram having good quality stuff.
But it's cool.
Yeah. But yeah.
But still, like all the trad pub stuff I have, all the whatever, like every now and then, like I do like the Orbit, the Orbit, like there's some that are nice. But man, this one, like, it's probably one of my favorites. Like if I made a book, it would be like this one for sure. It would be trash and it wouldn't have the content, but it might feel like this on the, it might just have my face on it with a nice texture and then blank pages. So
just your face filling the entire 9x6.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Blank 350 blank pages and with a signature in the middle somewhere. There you go.
I think you should write your autobiography, have your face on the front of the cover, and then just have the title be "Don't Ask Me Questions."
Yep. Dedicated to mom. That's it. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on it. Easiest book to write ever. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you like it. Cause that was,
I can't wait. And sorry, I haven't read this. I haven't read it, but
go for it.
I've heard so many people say such good things about, like, Madison I talked to all the fucking time, and I think she read it because I remember her, and I can't remember if it was Phase or I think she read both, but she loved and like John is like raving about. I'm just like, I can't wait to read this. Like seriously, it's on my priority 100%. In fact, I want to put out a video about some really priority like indie books, because I have a few that I want to get to, and that one is like mostly because I just want to hold it. Like it's just, you know what I mean?
It's like, fun. It's very nice to read. Yeah. Yeah. Man, it's a good weight. It's a good, floppy paperbacks. It is such a nerdy thing, but oh my goodness. Like it's like anything, right? Like we have friends on BookTube who are big nerds about journaling and the pens and
I wish
the different
I could do
types
that.
of.
I wish I could.
It's so cool. Like, but when they start talking about like the different inks and stuff, I feel like it's similar, like anything you're really passionate about, you have those 100%. Little isms of, what's quality and what's not.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like this book, if I like picked it up off the shelf and just touched it, I'd be like, fuck it, I'm buying it. Like, I don't know what it's about. But, like,
instant buy. Well, so because you're in indie town now, so I have to ask you, what are some of the indie books besides Bloodstones that you have on your like high priority TBR? Because I'm dying of curiosity.
You know what? I was about to take them all out and record a video over the weekend, actually. So I have some. So I have, I don't want to get his name wrong. Michael R. Miller, right? The Songs of Chaos. Yeah. So like I have them all behind me. Michael Schultheis sent me his, oh my God,
is it Altar of Fate?
Yes, but it's, what is it called? The I always get the name.
I'm trying to remember the series title.
The Rostoval series.
Oh yeah.
So that one's really cool. And then I also have so I have the Zach Argyle Omnibus Kickstarter that I got, which is like really beautiful.
Yep.
I also have Ryan Cahill is like very near the top of the list because of because of what I hear, and it seems to vibe with like
I think you're really
things that
enjoy.
I like.
Yeah.
Tiago's book, I haven't got to that. Well, his series, I haven't got to his yet, but it's down there. Madison, we were just talking about you. How interesting. You might have to scroll back later and see
Mads.
what we said.
All good things, mostly.
Yeah. What else? Is Rob J. Hayes still Self Pub? No. Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So there's a couple more books of his that I want to try. There's a lot. There's a ton on my Kindle too.
Oh my gosh.
Man,
Don't even
there's
get me
so
started on my Kindle.
there's like, to be honest with you, next year might be a more indie heavy year, I think, because there's so much that I want to try. And there's just like I have like random books where I'm like, I heard about it and I just bought it, and like I don't really know much about it, but I've heard really good things, or it's different enough, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
I'm excited for
Indie
you.
indie stuff is getting so good.
Yeah.
Like it's getting so good. So, yeah.
Well,
I'm
just
looking around for other ones.
Like, shameless plug, just read mine first so that I don't have to compete with everybody
I might.
else.
So can I ask you a question for inquiring minds? You're how long is this going to be? How long is this here? Is it a trilogy? 3. Oh, I love trilogy.
Okay, so that's a trick question. So it's a trilogy. Yeah, it's a trilogy, period.
Okay.
We're going to see how long book 2 is. It's a trilogy. So, and I've said this on a few, so I'll do the nutshell version. So I started this world and story of this world in college 12 years ago, and started a series called Edge of the Earth during college. And I actually submitted a section of book 3 as my senior capstone for college. However, then I had my first child my senior year of college, and I was a mom for a really long time and did not have time to write. I went back to it a couple years ago, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to write Edge of the Earth now. I feel like I've grown enough as a writer. I've read extensively. I feel a lot more confident in pulling this off now. And I was like, it'd be fun. I'm starting to do some backstory work. What if there's some backstory history here that kind of would be fun to dig into? And so the Legends of the Bruhai is actually like a half generation before that series. So
sneaky,
right?
Hey?
I didn't know it was coming either. So
that's so funny.
I started kind of backstorying, and I was like, well, who is this king, and what if, because one of my big nerdy things is I find it really interesting how we deify heroes in history, and how like somebody like Achilles, for example, has this like, he's not human anymore, right?
Right.
Because he's dead, but also because like he's just this myth of a person. Yeah. How at one point he was a small child toddling around after his mother. Like how there's that huge jump between the legend that somebody becomes and who they actually were as a child and growing into that legend. And
I love that kind of that journey and that story. Yeah. Like I love that development. I think that's, also, you asked me before, like some of the things that,
and platonic male friendships. You're welcome in advance.
So that's some of the stuff that I've heard. And every time I hear something new about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of what I want. So yeah. So what's the status? Are you like book
I'm in book 2
soon? Okay.
Yep. I'm in book 2 right now. And I just wrote a bunch of words on it yesterday, and I'm starting to, I kind of had a rocky personal life year this year. And so the creativity was kind of downish. But I'm really starting to find my stride again. And I think this next winter, I'm really going to get, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so book 2, I'm in the process of it. The Queen's Wolf, the cover is being worked on. I just signed the contract for it, which I'm very excited about.
Also, whatever. Yeah. Like it's just everything's, I keep picking it up. Everything's so cool about it. Like
I'm so proud of it. And it's funny because like the way that the world, the story of the world is going to go, if everything goes to plan, it's going to be the Legends of the Bruhai trilogy. Then there's going to be a novella called The Dayar's Curse, and it's going to go back thousands of years in time and explain where the magic went and why.
Wow.
And then we're going to jump a half generation after Legend of the Bruhai for Edge of the Earth.
And then shit gets wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome. Oh, how about this book? Hang on.
Okay.
How about this one? Andy Peliquin. He has a bunch
Yeah.
of series, right? But this
Yep.
one is like, I forget, is it the Darkblade like series or whatever? Yeah,
There's
no.
like 9. There's like 9
There's a
of
bunch of
these.
different ones. So yeah, man, this is like assassin
I've
stuff. Like
not read this yet. And
okay.
Andy was lovely enough to send me a review copy of it. Andy's great. Andrew's awesome.
Yeah. This one,
And
I got this one
I'm
signed.
so
It came
excited.
signed.
Nice. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so excited to read this because
This sounds very much up my alley for sure. So like there's so
Yeah.
much. There's so much.
I know. That's the problem.
I need a clone, I think.
I need one. I need a reading clone and I need a writing clone and not
But if
AI.
I cloned myself and there were 2 of me, I'd probably go to jail. Ain't nobody wants that. Trust me. But still, I could read more. So that would be a benefit.
Yeah.
But yeah. Andy
That's
seems like a super cool dude. Yeah. I've been engaging with him
He's
a
very
little bit on
cool.
Instagram now.
Yep.
Oh, are you reading it next month? What? Oh my God. Plans might change. October is very difficult because there's so much already. But anyway, plus these books are chunky monkey.
That,
so yeah,
I'm just going to ask you this on a live stream because I have you here.
Oh God.
Are we still thinking about reading Stephen King together in October?
We had made plans.
Maybe?
So you were talking about Duma-Key or Billy Summers, right?
Yes.
I like have Billy Summers on deck. Like I really want to try that first.
Gotcha.
Okay. Are you
potentially? Yes.
What are you thinking?
So here's the thing.
The answer to your question of like, do I have time to do that? Like, should I like, no, I don't, and I shouldn't. But will I agree to it like an idiot and try? Here's the problem. What has sort of changed is I'm starting to realize that I'm going to be away in October for like 2 weeks hunting with my cousin and uncle. And as much as I love to think that like, oh, like after we hunt elk for like fucking 8 hours in the tent with the little stove, like I'll be reading. They're not going to let me read. Like it's probably not going to happen. So as much as I feel like I'll have time while I'm away to read, I probably won't. Yeah. But I want to think that I can. Now, here's the thing. If we do a King, I might do that on audio and they read pretty quick. So I might, sure. And it's spooky season. So like, why wouldn't I read a Stephen King? So, this is how my brain works. I'm all over the place. I apologize in advance.
I'm used to that. So that doesn't offend me in any way, shape or form. So here's the thing. So I have Duma-Key and I have Billy Summers. This one was a self-rec because I went through and I looked at a bunch of stuff and I was like, this sounds like something that maybe Ish would sort of be up my alley. Yep. Duma-Key. So I was talking to Wizard and I was like, okay, Andrew, you've read like a stupid amount of Stephen King and I've read nothing. And I don't want the standard, like when I say, what should I read? And everybody's like, read it or read The Stand. Because those are like the only 2 books that people typically recommend to me when I ask, generally speaking.
I want to be in the cool club too. Hang on. Bam.
Hey, look at that.
Let's figure it out. Okay.
So Andrew, I said, okay, Andrew, like, you know me really well. What book of Stephen King's would I have the best chance of liking? Because I'm not a horror reader. I don't like horror. Okay.
And I know, by the way, to Madison's quite like, I know they're not really spooky. This one, maybe a little bit more. This one, I know it's a thriller. I'm kind of in the mood for that. But like Stephen King, October, he just goes hand in hand. So yeah, I get it.
Right. And this was the one that Andrew said right away. He was like, you need to read
People
Duma-Key.
love that one, actually.
And I was like, okay, I'm very skeptical. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna be a really Mr. King has his work cut out for him with me.
So my wife, who's read a couple Stephen Kings, she's read Salem's Lot and really liked it. She read 11/22/63 with me. It's one of the very few buddy reads we did. She loved it. Well, she liked it, not as much as I did. I thought it was brilliant, but she loved it. She also read, I think, Later, like the small.
Oh, sure.
You know, like there's like Joyland, there's whatever. And like Later was one of his newer ones. And she liked that. It was short. What else did she read? I feel like she started The Stand, didn't get through it. It's just too long. And I feel like she just like pittered out. But she tried Duma-Key and just like didn't get into it. And I recommended that for her because I was like, I haven't read it, but like I want to read it. And so apparently this one's, and she picked it up before I could get to it with her. And she actually didn't, she was like, whatever. She just kind of put it down. She got bored. So,
yeah.
Now my wife is not always right, despite what she says. She's not always right. She's right to me, but maybe not.
That's important
to you.
Sure.
So take it with a grain of salt.
Well, I mean, that helps a lot because I mean, this was kind of I'm gonna grab a couple of Stephen King books that either I found sounded interesting or somebody recommended to me, then see what I think, because
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna be a Stephen King fan, but I'm open to be convinced. Hi, John.
What's up?
And so this isn't going to be at my official first Stephen King read. I just will have not finished one of his books yet, because last month I tried The Gunslinger.
Okay. The Gunslinger I tried years ago too. And like for the life, however, I really want to read The Dark Tower next year.
Sure.
Okay. To be fair, a lot of people are like, The Dark Tower is amazing. Gunslinger, not a great book. He also wrote that when he was like 16 or something. And he,
sure.
you know, there's a lot of improvement in each book.
Right.
Not to mention like the tone apparently shifts a lot. It's just, it's written like it's very different. You just kind of have to read that to start. Although interestingly, I know Fina, she started, she's doing a read along, I think, with it. And I can't quite, you know, make that work. I would have loved to, but she started with The Gunslinger and loved it. Like she kicked off with, she's like, I love the vibe. It's weird. I love the way it's written, blah, blah, blah. And she loved it from like page 1.
Yeah. She commented.
And Fina is actually always right.
That.
So there you go.
Well, she commented on because it was part of a TBR takeover where Brian was like, all right, I'm going to help you like get some books off your shelf. I was like, thank you. And I'd been going back and forth on whether I even wanted to keep The Gunslinger for months. So Brian was like, just read it, try it. If you hate it, get rid of it. If you don't, now you've read it.
Yeah, true.
And my thing is, and this is where I get kind of nervous about King, is that I am not somebody, I will bounce off of just gratuitous and gross sexual content so fast. And that was why I bounced on Gunslinger, because I was like, no.
Really?
So
yeah.
Know that there is some of that in there. And it's just, yeah. So,
oh man,
that's just so you know, it's there. I'm not trying to.
Speaking of that, I tried my first Haruki Murakami book.
How was that?
He and I are not horrific.
Not
he and I,
yeah.
Not going to get along. Yeah. Which one did I read? It was called Tsukuru Tazaki's Colorless Pilgrimage with the something. Okay, the premise is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like it was, and funny enough, I read it quickly and I read it cover to cover, and I was like, I was intrigued the whole way. I was just let down by how it turned out. And it was punctuated with really weird, gratuitous, kind of unnecessary and super gross, like sex stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And
I don't mind the occasional spicy scene. That's fine. But like, you have to, it has to be there for a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
for a reason. And part of it, there's an event, like part of it is integral to the plot, but the rest of it, and sometimes you're in, every now and then you're in the character's mind and he'll think something super gross and you're like, it adds nothing. No one needs to know. And also that is kind of weird for your character, because you're like, that doesn't quite, it's just, it's almost like he injects himself. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but it almost seems like someone injects what they think
wishful
a thought would be, or it's kind of like, oh yeah, this would work, or like this is what someone might think. No, like no, not always. So to me, that was, and again, there are other things in the book that made it disappointing, but that really by the end put me off completely, where it could have been a 3, right? 3.5. It was like a 2-star book. I was like, no, this is not my I hate to rate stuff as a lower rating because I didn't like something, or like I can separate myself objectively and go, people will love that. That was well done. Didn't love it, but I can see what, there were so many things where I'm like, I have no idea why that was done. And by the end of the book, I couldn't tell you what the point of it was. You know, when you finish a book, it's nice to be able to be like, this is why this book was written.
This is what I got out of it.
This is what I got out of it. This is why it was written. It could be just to have fun. It could have a lot of metaphorical, whatever, very thematic, very whatever. That one, I don't understand the point. So
that's the other thing that I feel, because I have so many friends who kind of like open-ended stories where they kind of like just kind of ending and then, you know, percolate. And I'm like, I don't usually
Yeah.
like
I don't mind that.
yeah.
I don't mind that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little like I do need things wrapped up, but every now and then I like to imagine, I do like ambiguity at times. It just needs to be built
Yeah.
up well enough to where like I wonder
Right.
I wonder how that turned out, right? But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that was a weird book for me. So
I'm definitely curious, Madison, if you want to elaborate on this. I would be more than willing because I know you are also a Stephen King nerd, so I would
yeah,
be
she
very
is.
open to hearing. I'm excited to try this because the premise sounds really interesting, and
Yeah.
I
It's a
read
cool
enough.
cover too,
It
honestly.
is a cool cover, and I love a good foil.
Yeah.
I think I read widely enough genre wise that like I'm not really afraid of when somebody says, "Oh, that would be a tough one to start with for a particular author." That doesn't really put me
Hmm.
off
Hmm.
typically. Um maybe
Now,
you're right,
just to go
but
back to what I think I heard you say, you're not super into like horror,
mm-mm.
spooky, like scary type books. You want something a little bit more, a little different, psychological, whatever. Like,
So here's the thing. Like I like horror flavor. So I actually really like fantasy that has a little bit of that like kind of horror flavor to it.
mhm.
Um I I also have a very overactive imagination and
Okay,
I suffer with chronic nightmares since I was a child. So
nice,
great.
perfect.
It's great. It's wonderful.
Because immediately I
So
would go to Salem's Lot and Pet Cemetery. Pet
I
Cemetery
will
is like one of my
never read
favorite
Pet
books by him,
Cemeteries. I
and
can't. I
I
can't do it.
don't think you
No.
ever should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Multiple people have said like out of all of them, do
don't
not
read
read
this.
Pet
Like you could even read
Cemetery.
it,
Yeah.
and it would be like, okay,
Right.
cool. Like that's cool. That's kind of freaky. Pet
Yeah.
Cemetery
Yeah.
hits wrong almost.
Wait.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and Salem's Lot, like that's nightmare fuel. There are certain scenes where you're like, oh my god, like that'll stay with you.
And that's the thing.
Um,
Like, that's not, I don't need that in my life, you know?
no, no,
Like, I
correct.
don't mind a little bit of suspense and thriller, and I don't mind any of that. I actually occasionally get a hyper focus where I will watch some true crime because I'm just
Yep,
that
yep.
person. Um,
I'm looking
but I
at my
have to
kings
be
trying to
really
figure out.
careful.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I can only do that for a certain amount of time. Then I'm like, okay, I'm starting to side eye my neighbors
mhm,
constantly. I need to
yeah.
like back away. So
Have you have you watched the movie Misery? So
mm,
are you familiar with the story? As a
mm,
writer, you should read Misery.
okay,
Misery is one of the best movies ever made. And Kathy Bates and is it James Caan?
okay,
And that movie stayed with me when I was a kid. But the book is really, really good. It's been a long time since I've read it. And I rewatched the movie with my wife probably a year or two ago, and I've been wanting to read Misery. Misery is fantastic. And I feel like it's way more psychological. There's some like kind of gruesome scenes where you're like, oh my God, why would you do that to someone? But like you're probably reading a synopsis right now, but like it's
yeah.
this like this
What
crazy
gave it
fan
away?
lady, that like bumps into her favorite author or whatever and takes
Yeah,
him home and cares for him, but like then won't let him leave and forces him to write stuff that she wants to read. And like no one knows his author's missing. He's like trying to escape. And she's like, no, like I'm your biggest fan. Like you're gonna stay here forever. It's crazy. I feel like you
yeah.
might actually really vibe with that one. And it
Okay,
borders it borders horror quite
yeah. I
well,
do like a
but it's
psychological
very
thriller, though.
oh, it's so it
Yeah,
read up on it, read some reviews,
yeah,
maybe get some recs of people that have read it and know you,
yep,
and see that might be a good one to just keep up your sleeve in case you're interested. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm curious, kind of on this note with Pete's comment and talking about King. What authors or author is there an author that you feel like you really want to try their work, but you're kind of like apprehensive about whether or not it's going to be for you? That's maybe getting a lot of hype or it's a big favorite in your friend group.
Yeah. R. Scott Baker is one.
Same.
The Second Apocalypse. I'm like, I feel like I'm
Yep.
gonna love that, but I'm also terrified because like maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not like what am I gonna what the biggest concern for me is? It goes back to what we've talked about earlier is am I going to, not the book's fault, not the series fault, am I going to stay in the right mood for long enough to enjoy, to get out? Because like I can be in the mood to pick up like whatever the first book is. I can't remember the Darkness That Comes Before or whatever. I can be in the mood like now to pick that up and probably love it. Am I going to be in the mood for like the rest of it? And am I going to devour it as a package the way it was intended to be? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's one that like, I really want to try that. And it's at the top of my priority list. I did a priority series list.
Yeah.
That video did quite well actually, because I got to put a bunch together and articulate and really like think about the ones that I want to get to. That was definitely at the top of the list.
Yeah.
I also really want to try Jenny Wirtz. And like, it's not, she has so many things that I feel like we would vibe, but I know that her series can read very differently, one to the other. And I just don't know where I'll land. I feel like I'll really like her writing and her series, but like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I've heard so many differing things from different people. Like, I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. That's a good question.
I would recommend, if you want to get kind of a feel for Janny's writing and kind of get an idea what
Hell's Chasm.
Yeah.
To ride Hell's Chasm. Yeah.
Because
I know I have that one. I have that ebook, I think.
I think that's a good, and I've asked Janny, and she always says when people ask her where to start, she's like, well, it depends on what you want, and so she'll give you like
so that's
which is
the
a
kind
great
of author
answer.
that great answer. And that's actually brilliant, because like an author that can kind of have something depending on what type of reader you are, what you're in the mood for, is amazing. I just don't know how I'm going to vibe and where I should start.
Right.
So yeah, that makes sense. I'm not sure about anything else, to be honest. Like anything I'm afraid to, like Red Rising, I'm thrilled to, like, I can't wait. I just know I'm going to like, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think you're going to love that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll be very interested
sure.
to hear your thoughts on the second series though.
So that's what I was going to qualify that with, is like, I know I'm going to love it. Am I going to continue? Like, how am I going to feel about the back half? I don't know. We'll see. One series. No, I actually can't think of anything off the top of my head that I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to feel, or I'm a little bit, oh, okay. Here's one. Actually, dude, I have something super cool to show you. I'm going to show this on my channel at some point, but you can't see, but like there's a stack of, okay, Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is one that I have not tried. I've heard about the slog. I know that it's a long series. I know that there can be certain things that are a little bit like tedious in it, and it's older, and it's whatever. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. I desperately, as a fantasy reader, want to get that under my belt. I went to a thrift store, secondhand store, whatever, and I found some mint condition hardcovers. You can see about 7 of them right there. So I bought them all, right? I bought them all. And then I took them home, and this one is signed by Robert Jordan, and I got it for like $4. Yeah, dude. And I was like,
I love those bookstore finds so much,
dude. I lost my wife was like, I lost my shit. I was like, I can't, like, because he's not here anymore. You're not going to get stuff signed anymore. Like,
deal.
And of the 7, 1 happened to be signed, and I was like, okay, now I'm keeping these. Like, now I'm keeping them
forever.
Like, I'm just gonna, like, now I want to read it. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about them.
Yeah.
I want to be a wheelie. I want to like them. I just don't know.
I think
it's a big commitment too.
I think you honestly, I have not read them, so I am speaking from inexperience. But
interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. Okay.
So I am a curmudgeon when it comes to chosen one fantasy. I almost always hate it.
Okay. I like it, but it needs to be done well. I do like it. I have to say, I'm embarrassed now.
Right. No. But that's why I'm saying I think you actually have a really good chance of enjoying it, because it's chosen one, very heavy chosen one, very classic vibes, very, what's the other thing I was going to say? That you mentioned liking quest fantasy. I think you have a pretty good chance of liking it, honestly. Based on my not having read it. I have DNF'd Eye of the World 3 times. So
I remember trying Eye of the World before I knew what it was or what it was part of or whatever, like way back in the day. And I remember reading part of it and putting it down, never quite getting immersed into it, but it was before I got back into, fantasy and before I got back into reading and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. I feel like I'm a different reader now. And I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what concerns me is the length of the series. Like, even if I'm enjoying it, can I commit to 15 books or whatever it is?
That's
Like
a lot. Well, and
yeah.
especially, I don't know if you run into this too, but I actually get like when I'm staring down the barrel of a new series, especially
Mm.
as a booktuber, like that's a huge time commitment. And you're like, okay, I'm going to have to make space for this in my reading. Like, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. So you have no interest in trying it. You just know that it's not going to be your jam.
right.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
good. Look,
So for you is
whatever.
like how, because you've been on booktube and been reading more seriously for the last couple of years, right?
Mhm.
What would you say has been like, have you seen yourself grow as a reader, and how do you think you've grown as a reader in terms, because you were just talking a little bit about I'm in a different, like I'd be able to maybe handle something like that more now.
I think you know what? I feel like I'm a little bit more patient now, and I like,
Yeah.
you know, I like to get immersed in worlds, and I used to just like books as a lot. Look, I wasn't always a like fantasy first reader, so I really liked books, right? The whole series thing is sort of new to me as I got older and as I got back into reading. And yeah, like the odd duology, trilogy, whatever. The
Sure.
15 book series, like that's a new thing. So I am a little more patient now, and I am a little bit more you know, into the immersion that comes from building through like
Yeah.
you know a proper
That
world and stuff. So
payoff though.
the payoff, right? And so for
Yeah.
example, to put it in perspective, like the what is it, Stormlight Archive, like
Mhm.
before I might be like, yo, that's super cool, but like I don't know if like I can make my way through that, right? I don't read enough a day, they're too big, the series is so long, whatever. Now I'm just like I can sort of like, you know, piecemeal it and kind of like, you know, in little bits and pieces, and I feel like I can do that. So yeah, and I also, I think I've changed where I appreciate different genres more. I
Yeah.
appreciate different writing styles more. Before I sort of like was like, and maybe it comes from being able to understand what is happening and the different styles being used, and like
Yeah.
what the intentions are. Before I was just like, hey, I like that book, or like I don't like that book. Maybe it comes from organically having more discussions with people, which
Yeah.
ends up becoming a booktube channel in a lot of cases because you want to put your own thoughts out there more so.
Right.
So that's kind of how that happened. But I think by articulating more and discussing more, you start to understand what you like more. And so now,
100%.
because I can pinpoint a little bit more, like I like these things, I don't like these things necessarily, I I can find those things in different genres, and I experiment more.
Right.
So for example, I have something else very exciting to show you. So
I love it. This is just a
I
show and tell Motley Crew episode. I love it.
it is. So I had so my favorite book, which I wouldn't expect to be my favorite book, but like it ended up being my favorite book, is Boy's Life by Robert
Yeah.
McCammon.
Yeah.
And I went out and bought this one because it's so sexy. And I gave
That's
I gave my
beautiful.
paperback that I got as a gift, which I read originally, to my friend. And he's a Stephen King fan. He loves the coming of age, the nostalgia. He just likes the old school 1960s, like middle America, whatever. Like he's gonna vibe with it. He's gonna love it. Then I went out and I was heartbroken when I missed an opportunity to get this. So then I went out and I got the Suntop edition of Boy's Life.
So
And I
pretty.
thought, I just bought it from a scalper who made a little bit of extra money on me. I'm not going to say how much, but then whatever. And I was like, I have to have
Hey, if
this.
it's your favorite book.
That's how I justified it. I said, look,
Yeah.
wife, this is my favorite book. What am I going to do? Not own this version of it? What do you
Right.
want from me? Like, how dare you? And so I said, look, I'm a grown adult man. I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
And then I asked permission to get it, and she said, fine. So then I bought it. Anyway, I'm thrilled. Like I want to reread it at the end of the year, and my friends read it right now.
Do we get
So-
like a
No, you're not allowed to touch it. Like I can't. I'm
I'm not
just
in
kidding.
Canada, Theo.
No, it's so hot.
It's
And you know
so
what?
pretty.
It's the artwork is gangster, and like it's this. I can't get to the right page because weirdly it's at the back. but it's like it's signed. Where is it? I think it's
Signed in the
signed.
back?
Yeah, it's signed like at the back
Interesting.
by the author and the
That's
illustrator.
cool. I
And
love
like
when
so
companies
nice.
do both the author, like on those special editions, both the author
As
and
they
the illustrator.
should.
That's
It's
cool.
brilliant,
Love
right? Because what makes this stand out is dude,
that.
dude, I would say something that's like not appropriate right now, but like I'm very like, let's just say I'm very happy right now. Like I love it. I love touching this.
It's so
It's
pretty.
it's so beautiful. And like you said, one of the things that makes this a unique, beautiful edition is the artwork, right?
Right.
It just makes it, and so the illustrator should, the artist should, be part of it. Absolutely. What's cool is that it's one of 750, right? There's only 750 copies. And so I was like, you know what?
Extra special.
I want that. And then when
Yeah.
another special edition comes out, I'll probably buy that too. So,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I would
I love
say, I mean, it's more expensive now than I passed this in Barnes and Noble when it was $15 on the shelf.
Are
And I
you
was like,
serious?
I had just read the book and I was like, I don't know, like I really loved it, but like, do I need another edition?
You didn't
of it?
know then that, yeah, 100%,
No.
100%.
And so this, like, this was a kind of a gift, honestly. I don't know if you know Michael Mindelin. He's around on
Why do I know
Alan's
that name?
channel.
Yeah,
He's
okay,
around a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of Alan's channel stuff.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Super, super nice guy. But I had posted that I was desperately looking for the Howler edition because, like, my favorite series. And he was like, well, do you have the regular hardcover? Because I have the Howler edition. I'll just trade you for it.
Really?
And I was like, come again? Like, that was the nicest. Oh my gosh. And I treasure this. I immediately Mylar wrapped it. But the cool part is I actually got to meet and do a Q&A with, I didn't do the Q&A, but I listened to a Q&A of Pierce Brown in the Twin Cities last year. So
Yeah.
my Howler edition is signed to me.
Hang on. How like you went to a signing and got to meet him? Sweet. That's
it was
so
how
cool. So tell me this.
So good.
So you saw that book, passed it up, but you hadn't read the rest of them. And then you read the rest of them, loved it, became a favorite, and then got that, and then so you got to meet Pierce Brown. My point is, after you read it and realized it's a favorite. Okay, that's gangster. You know what? I love John Gwynne, and he's a favorite author of mine for sure. And I was in London, not last week, but like the week before. Was it last week? Oh my God, last week. It's been a crazy week. Last week, I was in London and I just saw that he's going to be doing a signing all through England and at one of the big Waterstones in London. And I would give anything to be able to go there and get like some books signed and get to meet John Gwynne. And there's a couple authors that I would love to just meet because I just like their stories so much. So it'd be really cool. I'm really happy for you that got to meet him because that's a big deal. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to read those because I think so. One of the things that I think is an important distinction is that, like I said, I'm a curmudgeon with Chosen One, and which is a weird thing in fantasy, I realize. But I love coming of age. I love coming of age stories.
Same.
Love it. So I think for me, and I know, like, I've heard Mike from Mike's book reviews talk about how, the boy in the village who learns sword play and he goes on how many, and he loves that every single time. And I love that. I love that for the people that love that. I don't give me that.
Really?
I don't want it anymore. No.
What don't you like about it? Like, because sometimes it's done well, sometimes it's trash, right?
100%,
sometimes it's like,
yeah. And I think it can be objectively, I know that it can be done really well. And that repeats, I don't necessarily want tropes to be eliminated by any means. But me not enjoying a Chosen One trope doesn't mean that I think that it's bad. And I love that it's in fantasy because a lot of people love it. And I think some of the books that I really love have Chosen One tropes in them that are done really well. But I think I don't like it when something's incredibly predictable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, here's my biggest thing. Tension in a book really, really is important for me. I want those emotional moments to just punch. Like, I want to be hurt by the books that I write. You know what I mean? And so the problem with chosen one tropes is usually, and I'm actually outlining a video about this in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Plot armor.
Yeah.
Don't give me your like plot. As soon as somebody's a chosen one, I'm like, well, anytime they're in danger, I'm bored.
Yeah, because you just know, right?
You just know they're gonna make it out. They're
true.
gonna figure it out. They're gonna, here comes the cavalry. Like, so yeah, I'm kind of a curmudgeon about that.
I can see that. Sometimes I wonder if there's a huge difference between reading any sort of main character and then being like, well, obviously I'm reading a main character or a point of view.
Right.
Surely they're going to be around at the end of the book, right? So it's hard. It is hard to, but chosen one specifically can get a little bit not great, a little bit overdone too. And yeah, there's a little bit of that too. I think that goes back to why George R. R. Martin just like shocked everyone when he killed that guy off,
Kills everyone.
Not to spoil it. I'm sure people have watched it.
A lot of people die.
A lot of people die, and some people that you think are like the main dudes die. And and that's why people were shocked and loved it, because then, as you know, you don't expect it, but the book and the story and whatever takes on a whole new thing. Right. And you get immersed and invested in other people that you didn't think that you would be. Like it's pretty interesting. And I like when I do like tropes. Tropes are tropes for a reason. I do like when they're subverted and done in fresh ways. It's very difficult to do that. And so I commend authors to even try. But yeah, what I like Chosen One. I don't like the Gary Sue, Mary Sue stuff, whatever. I hate that. So give me a main character, give me a chosen one, give me the journey and the development and the training and the montage. Give me all of that. It's all good. Yep. But don't pretend like he's just good at swordplay and good at whatever. And he's the fastest climber and he's the whatever. And he's the bravest. Like, you know what I mean? Don't give me all of that, because then it's, I want the payoff of the chosen one doing the chosen one shit. Like I do want that. That's hard to do. It is hard to do. Yep. And it doesn't always hit the notes for me, but I do find myself being like, I can't wait. I do like this. I do like the journey of that. Right.
Waving your fanboy flag.
100%. I do. Yeah. Anyway,
I think one of the reasons
the heart wants what the heart wants. What do you want?
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate that. I on my channel, I appreciate that you appreciate things I don't appreciate. So,
I appreciate that. That's great.
Awesome. Yeah. I think I enjoy when a very common trope is subverted. And
totally.
I'm going to say nothing other than this one sentence for spoiler reasons, but I think that was one of the reasons why Fonda Lee had my respect so quickly as a writer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one.
Because
totally.
She takes what you expect and just, and she does it so effortlessly and brilliantly. And I remember just like, there were so many moments where I just put the Green Bone Saga down for a minute. And I was just like, I can't believe that she just went there.
The Green Bone Saga, I can't remember, but I feel like it's one of those rare times that I gave every book 5 stars for different reasons. I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like the middle book was a banger middle book and so much shit happens. The conclusion was so satisfying, and there's time jumps. And so there's like other stuff that she does very well. The beginning sets things up so beautifully and then subverts some stuff. And like, I loved that series. And as someone that appreciates martial arts and fight scenes and battle sequences and whatever, like I can appreciate the immersion that she was able to execute on. And obviously it comes from her being a black belt and stuff, I think in Kung Fu or whatever, but like, she's very good. Yeah. She's a good writer. She's a good martial artist. And like for me, there were some moments where it could have been like, oh man, like whatever. But it was so good. I loved it. Yeah.
What
So
blew my mind, I mean, we were talking a little bit before about how hard it is as a writer to weave all of those threads and how try to keep everything straight and all this stuff. The amount of information that Fonda Lee just knows about her world is mind-blowing to me. Like the
I know.
economics of everything and the politics and the sociology, everything. Like it's just so mind-blowing. I don't know how she does it. She's so smart.
Here's the thing, and this comes from a layperson who like is not a writer, but like as a reader and reader first and foremost, like you can sort of tell when an author, and I don't mean this in a bad way because it's not a bad thing, but you can sort of differentiate. The astute reader will be able to distinguish between a world that was sort of like created, right, for a story, and then a world that just like existed in their head for decades, and they're like, okay, I gotta like write this down because like this exists. You just don't know about it.
Right.
You can sort of distinguish between that and the length of time that someone has spent in their world. It sort of comes across on, and there are very talented writers that can basically be like, you know, what would be a cool story of this, and then just like create shit. And I'm sure that Brandon Sanderson can probably like whip up a world in another planet or whatever. But some people you can sense, and what I think what I mean by that, if I drill it down, is you can sense the passion for one's world that comes across in someone's writing. Not that another author might not have a passion, but they're just not as I don't know what I'm trying to say. You understand what I mean, right?
Yeah, it's
like
the level
just
of
more
detail.
to it. Yeah.
That you just, I think it shows just it's almost an obsession with the world, to be honest.
Right.
Like it's
that's what I was going to say. Some are just like obsessed with it, and it's just they live and breathe this world, and some are just very good writers that, you know, can develop a world and a story, and sometimes that comes across a little bit differently, right? For sure.
Right. Yeah. Well, and
that's a banger series.
It's so good. It was so good. And I think for me, actually, I have fallen in love with it more and more the longer I've been away from it, because
oh really? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I really enjoyed it when I read it, but the longer I've been away from it now, because I think I finished Jade Legacy last November. Question mark?
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been almost a year, and I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about so many parts of it. And like, I remember closing Jade Legacy and I was a mess. I was bawling through the last bit of Jade Legacy. And then I couldn't grab my Kindle fast enough to read the short stories and the novella. I couldn't get more of it fast enough.
I haven't read those yet.
Theo.
Oh my God. I just remembered that there's more stuff. I totally forgot.
Okay.
Oh man.
So again, zero spoilers for everybody in the comments, but in the Green Bone Saga, Lon is my favorite character. Okay.
Yep.
The Jade Setter of John Loon, which takes place before the events of Green Bone Saga. Like, I was so excited when he walks through the door and there's just more of my favorite character. It was like,
that's pretty sweet. Yeah.
I love that. And Jade Shards, I think she did a great job. There were a couple of stories in there that I was like, okay.
Did we need this? Yeah, sure.
Did we need this? I don't know. But there was a really good, there's a really good short story of the little bit of the backstory of the antagonist.
Okay. Oh.
Which was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really short. You should read them.
Okay.
They're really short. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I'd be curious to read about her, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Be very, very, I really want to know how she turned out that way. Like how,
such a good antagonist.
Yeah, because she was really compelling. That's the other thing too. Yeah, the world, blah blah blah, whatever. But like the characters were so compelling and
human. They're so flawed. They're so flawed, and I love that.
Yeah. I don't know. Very cool. I couldn't really pick like. It's one of those where it's like, who's the main character? Like who's the main? Like what's the main? They're all so important.
Character in the series?
I I flip flop a little bit, to be honest.
That's fair. That's fair.
I
There's
flip
a lot of
flop a
good
little
ones.
bit. Oh man, I can't remember his name now. Oh man, I can't remember his name. Let me look it up.
Who is it?
Let me look it
Like
up.
who?
Well, I don't want to say. Let me see.
Okay.
What's your
If you
favorite
say,
book of the series?
I was gonna say, if you say Barrow, I will take you off my channel immediately.
No.
I know. I'm just teasing.
Let me see.
Oh man. You know, my favorites. I gotta say Jade City. I think.
Really?
I think it's Jade City. Yeah.
You know what? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if.
I need to read
Jade
it again.
War a lot. I like Jade War a lot. I'm trying.
That was
to remember.
my least favorite on my first read.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Lon is cool. Like I don't know. I get it. I do get it. I'm just trying to remember. I'm just trying to remember the name, but I can't find them.
I also love the.
I was thinking about Hilo, but I think it's probably Lon for obvious reasons. But I don't know. I flip flop. I also like. I'm trying to remember her name. Actually, that's the thing.
When?
Is it?
Shay, I'm just gonna rattle off some names. Shay, Wen.
Shay was gangster. I like Shay too.
Shay was, yeah,
she was pretty cool. Yeah. Did you say when?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly,
she's
like
this awesome.
This is one instance where it's interesting for me because she's a female author, and the women were done so well to me, right?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily relate or, whatever with female characters, but sometimes they're done so well. And like the male characters written by her, like,
yeah.
So like the characters were they were all so good. It was so interesting.
Yeah.
And even like the old dudes, I can't remember their names, but they were so like, you just want to know more about their lives and stuff.
Yeah.
She does give you a lot. She does give you a lot of backstory, a lot of lore, and how the country sort of like evolved. Very interesting. That's such a good series. I want to reread that, but I want to read those little ones first. Yeah, she's good.
Because you'll blaze right through them.
Does she have anything else, or just this?
Yes.
She had that other book. What was that?
She also has Untethered Sky, which I have not yet read, but I'm going to. That's right. And then she also had her first novel. Actually, is a YA called Zero Boxer, which is sci-fi.
I've never heard of that.
Yep, that's
cool.
A sci-fi thriller. And there is a sci-fi duology that she also wrote. EXO is one of the two. I can't remember the other one.
Right.
So I'm going to hopefully read those soon, because the other thing too is one of the things I love about what we do on BookTube is when you read a series that just really leaves an impact like that, and then the author is also just awesome. Like getting to talk to her, the conversation about writing and character work that we had was one of my favorite live streams. Like it was so much fun. And I related so much to so much of what she said about her writing process and her philosophy about her characters and just how she builds these worlds. And she's so nice. She's so nice.
She seems it. Honestly,
yeah, she's lovely.
That's one of the few times where I get like extra almost jealous of not being a writer, is when like writers get to talk to writers, and I'm just like, yeah, totally. Yeah. And I'm like, I appreciate it. I just don't get it. And I can't relate because I'm a reader, and I'm going to like gush over your stories and stuff, but I can't connect that way. And that makes me jealous, and that makes me extremely happy for you. That's for sure. Very cool.
But also something that you have as a reader that I don't anymore as a reader and writer is it is so much harder for me to turn off my writer brain.
Yeah. Yep.
When I'm reading, it's hard for me to do that.
It's like I have a friend who is very involved with the movie business. Yeah, apparently. Yeah. If only it was that easy. Right. Just do this. I have a friend who's very involved in the movie making world, And he's
Cool.
like, dude, like it's like I can't just watch a movie and not be like, that's
Oh
how they did
yeah.
that. That's that, or like that lighting could have been like this, or that
Yep.
effect was done this way. Like he just can't enjoy things as much anymore. And he really wishes he could just turn that off. It's very, sometimes he can, sometimes it's very difficult. Most of the time he finds it very difficult. And he's the kind of guy that like is annoying in the movie because like, oh man, like, I can't, he just can't enjoy it the same way. And
Yeah.
but when he does enjoy it, he also wants to tell you about like the things that are
Yes. Why it's
interesting
good.
and why it's good. And then when he hates it, he's like, I hate it because of this. And like, just let me enjoy it, man. But anyway.
Just let me
But I
have
get
my
it. I
moment.
totally get it. I totally
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, and I think I can compartmentalize that a little bit, but it is, you know, and that's part of the reason why, like, when I see a chosen one trope, I'm like, I can pretty much tell you from a writing standpoint, I can predict the rest of this book.
What's going to happen. But
Yeah.
surely at sometimes you get impressed, right? And you're like,
Yes.
okay, that was sick. Like
And
that was done.
So that's why Green Bone left such an impact on me, I think, is because Fonda Lee was constantly doing things that I didn't expect. And that is such a rush. Like as a writer reader, I love when I am immersed to a point where I can kind of let that go. And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't know where they're going, but I love it. This is great. Let's just, and that's why the immersion is so important for me and why I bounce off of books so hard, because it's like, you know, if I'm not getting that full immersion and engagement, I'm not going to enjoy it as much. And then I'm going to be more critical in my review.
Do you DNF a lot? Do you give yourself do you allow yourself to DNF?
Yeah, I do. Especially because, and I completely understand people's reasons for not DNFing. And I think that's definitely a very individual thing. What's, you know, going to be right for everybody's reading space. But for me, I have to, because for certain content, there's a short list of content things that I would bounce off immediately. Or I have to be really careful too, that my reading time is so precious, and there's so, I mean, we both have this problem, right?
Dude,
that I'm like, if I'm dragging myself through a story, it's going to put me in a reading slump, to be perfectly honest. And I don't want that.
The opportunity cost is huge. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll do the not for nows, right? Where I'll recognize I'm not in the right headspace for grimdark or for cozy or for whatever. And I'll put it down and come back to it later. And I've had good success with that before. But some books, I know myself, I've been here for 4 years, and I'm actually able to articulate what I like and don't like about books now. And I can pretty much tell within sometimes even a few pages if I'm like, nope, this isn't going to be for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
it's funny how quickly you get to know yourself, right? When you read so much, so voraciously, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I try not to. I do give myself the leniency. I'm bad for fully enjoying a book and still putting it down and being like, I'm going to come back to this, or picking up something else, or getting pressured by a reading schedule or a buddy read or whatever. And then like putting it down, then being like, well, it's already been a month. Like maybe I'll just reread it, or like, do I come back to it or what? You know, and then 2 months turn into 3 or 4. And you're like, is it a DNF now? Like, why don't I want to pick it back up? Like, I don't know.
I almost have to start over.
Yeah. And that drags it on. Cause I'm like, no, I do want to read it, but now I want to reread it. But when am I going to fit that in? Right. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too much to read.
Booktube problems. So I'm curious, what you are really excited about reading in the very near future. Like, what does your October, November look like? What are you excited to pick up?
Oh man. That's a good question. So I'm fully immersed in Stormlight.
Nice.
So I made a commitment to myself to read through Stormlight to be sort of ready
for the 5th one.
I'm not the kind of booktuber or the kind of reader that's like, oh, I need to get like up to speed. Like I need to like put out content. I don't care. I've always put off Stormlight. I've read enough in the Cosmere where I was ready for it. And I wasn't going to scramble to read for Wind and Truth, but I was like, well, when else am I going to read these? I'm not reading them with anyone. Like I'm just whatever. I'm probably reading them with a lot of people actually. Not really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to just read these and see if I can kind of get whatever, so that I'll at least understand some of the discussion happening and some of the excitement. So I'm very excited to continue with that. The more I look at Boy's Life, I really want to reread that.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
feel
there.
that.
I want to eventually pick up the second book in the Last War trilogy. With by Mike Shackle. I read
Yes,
We Are the
I think
Dead
you would
and I
really like
loved
that.
it. Oh, dude,
It's
it was
so good.
yeah.
It's
I
so
can't
good.
like I really want to continue with that. I don't know if I can fit too much in October because I'm going away. I'm reading
Yeah,
Words of Radiance. I'm finishing up this very soon, and not very soon.
nice.
I'm not that far into it. But then Oathbringer in October is going to be a big chunk of that. I am supposed to buddy read The Reformatory by, man, I'm going to butcher the author. I won't even say it, but The Reformatory. And I found this book because I was watching an interview, a fairly recent interview with, yeah, please search it and see if you can pronounce the name. And
I've heard of
he
this
recommended
book.
it. He recommended it. There's a bunch of books by her, I believe.
Tananarive?
Tananarive. Yeah, exactly.
Tananarive?
Definitely. That sounds right. And apparently that one is disturbing, based in reality. It's something like this happened to a family member of hers,
Yep.
gets sent off to a reform school, and the kids are not treated very well there. And this is in
Yep.
Jim Crow South in the like 50s or something like that.
Yep.
So a little bit disturbing, and definitely a little bit of a spooky spin to it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I'm very curious about that one. So I want to buddy read that with Fina, I think. Am I
Nice.
reading it with Fina? No, Alicia. Fina,
Okay.
I think I talked about it with her, but I think it's Alicia that I'm going to read it with. And then whoever else wants to. I was going to try to get Venus to read it. A lot of people don't have time for the books that I want to read. But yeah, that one is on deck. And I'm honestly playing with trying to fit in some other thriller horror books. I just don't know, which is why Stephen King is still kind of on the radar. Like maybe we can do something with Stephen King.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
Well,
Like,
and we'll see.
yeah.
Like, this can be incredibly tentative because
Yeah.
it is possible that I will get like a tiny chunk into this book and just be like, nope, not feeling it.
I'm good.
Which is fine.
Totally.
Because I also have like 3 other buddy read / read along things for October. I don't know what happened to October, but I was like, okay,
Man.
here's my stack for October, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know what else am I like really excited about. I honestly don't know. I'm looking around
How
at
are
like
you
so many.
How are you liking Words of Radiance so far? That is my favorite Stormlight book.
It's very good. A lot's happening, and it's really cool because Way of Kings sets everything up so well that Words of Radiance just picks up, and you're like, okay, like I know the world, I know kind of magic, like what these things are doing, although there's so much mystery and so much build up.
Right.
I know the characters, I know who I like and who I don't like, although I actually like all the characters. And so you're just like, now you're in it for the ride. Like now you know enough to just like enjoy.
You're settled. You're buckled in. Yeah.
Buckled in. The first book was like just impressive. Like, oh my God, like, wow. Like this is holy crap. Someone can create this. Second book is like, okay, let's see what happens. So I'm excited. Yeah. So far so good. I hear Words of Radiance and Oathbringer are both gangster, like super banger books. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Have you read Rhythm of War?
I have read all 4 of the current released books.
Did you like Rhythm of War?
I hope you like it, Theo.
Here's the thing, though. What happened with that book?
I have theories. When you get that far, we'll talk. For sure. But here's the thing. I also know people where that was their favorite of the 4. So like, you know, it doesn't seem to be the majority opinion, which is fine. I have my minority opinions too. But for me, Sanderson gets very like nerdy with his own creation, and it's hard to like explain it without spoilers, but he like kind of went a little too deep into the explanation for my taste.
Okay. I think okay. I can understand what that might mean. Yeah, I get it. I've seen him kind of like get a little bit, I don't know if masturbatory is the right word, but a little bit too like, like, dude,
I get it.
Okay, like calm down. Like I get it. Like, or like that's not funny. Like you're like, just move on, you know?
Well, and
A
I
little
think,
bit like nerdy uncle, right? Like, shh, like just
yeah,
whatever.
well, and like I totally understand that, like when you I get it. As a writer, I
Sure.
completely understand just being so overly excited about the world you've created and the magic system and the whatever. Um that yeah,
I
I
can
mean,
understand, you
you
know?
kind of have to keep yourself, like I have to do that all the time when even when I'm doing author interviews, I try to be like, okay, we're not going to like just completely lose our crap because we're so excited about I got to
Yeah,
tell you every little thing, you know. So I get
totally.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, I know Pete really likes Rhythm of War. He was one of the people I was thinking of actually. Opposite, there are things in it that Tori also doesn't like that she isn't mentioning though. Well, it's hard without spoilers. Like it's the fourth book in a series and it's 1,000
True.
pages. So like it's really hard to say what exactly I don't like about it. There's also, and this is something I should also mention, there are some mental health things in book 4 that I don't love. But just in the
Okay.
series in general, that's also a conversation we can have once you get further.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard among the fans that one didn't like rock anyone's
Land as
socks, you know.
well.
But
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, I still think he could pull out a banger ending for this first arc. I think, you know, I probably won't jump on the Wind and Truth train until
Okay.
I want to wait till it comes out in the trade paperback.
I might, you know, that's the version that I like. I like the paperbacks.
Yep.
So I might have to wait for that too. Although I'll probably buy the ebook or whatever. I haven't pre-ordered it or anything, but I'm like you. I might not jump on it right away. I might get to Rhythm of War. That might be in December as well. And I'll start to see some discussion about it, start to see some reviews and start to hear the people that I look up to and watch and stuff and see what their opinions are. And then decide, is this like worth busting my TBR for and fitting it in right away? Or do I have to? What do I do?
Yeah.
Or do I want to let that simmer and then, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt.
I'm really glad you're enjoying it so far though.
Yeah. So far so good. I'm loving it for sure. Yeah. And it's
Favorite
keeping
characters?
the momentum. Kaladin is my boy. Like he's my G.
Yeah.
Although as I get older and more whatever, like Dalinar, I can kind of understand a little bit more. Like I get it, man. Like I get it.
Yeah.
Shallan, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about Shallan, but I find her very interesting. I also keep in mind I just read Way of Kings and I'm like a little bit into Words of Radiance, so I like Yasna. You know, but yeah. So unless something weird happens, I do.
I mean,
like
Yasna's
her.
a boss, so
You know. Who else? Yeah, Shallan, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about, but I'm very interested. She can be kind of annoying and like a little bit whatever, but I do like her a lot. Kaladin's my boy.
Oof, hot take, Ryan.
Really? That's so interesting. I wonder.
I
wonder why.
I
Look,
understand.
I haven't read the whole thing yet, so keep that in mind too.
Just from your Way of Kings and a little bit of Words of Radiance, I think we can easily talk about this. I think one of the reasons that some people bounce off of Kaladin, which I can understand. I like Kaladin, but I think some people are like, oh my gosh, like the depressive, like sad boy trope is a little heavy. So I get that.
Exactly. I'm only like a book and a quarter in, so I can sense there are some traits in certain characters that might be a little grating book after book. He does get awfully down here and there, and also you could argue
mostly fair.
Yeah, you could also argue that, like, I don't know, he's kind of like, you know, he's very much the like, he can kind of like just do everything. He's just good at everything. He's like, obviously he has a background. See, this is what I like. There's a background that kind of explains it, and you see the ups and the downs, and you sort of like you can believe where he gets to and his journey and stuff. But one could argue that, like, okay, he's just like wicked with this and he's just really good at that sometimes. So I don't know. I like him.
Well, and another trope that I do like, not necessarily, I know it's a big romance trope, but I just like it in general, is the Grumpy Sunshine combo. And Kaladin with Syl. Excellent. Love it. Love that dynamic.
Yeah, it's growing on me a lot. Like I really like that too. Because at first I was like, okay, now he's got this weird little companion. Like how's this gonna go? It's very well done actually. I really like it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Yasna. Yeah, definitely
Um,
interesting.
yeah, I agree,
Mm.
Pete. I think we have the same opinions on this. I actually
Oh,
am planning on
interesting.
doing a deep dive video on one of them and really digging into why I have
Hmm.
reservations about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of
Interesting.
those like I need to actually script this video out, so it probably won't come out for 6 months.
I know how that
But
is. I know
right,
how
like,
that is. Oh my
well,
God.
it's always the like, oh man, I really am really passionate about like this specific topic, but I know that
Yeah.
it would take a little bit more time and effort to kind of, set it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that, and then you're like, I'll do a wrap up today.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You know what you asked me, like, what am I excited to read? What am I looking forward to? You know, what's happening to me lately is I'm getting the itch to reread a bunch of stuff. And it's annoying
Nice.
because, like, well, it's great, but then it's like,
Yeah.
I don't have the time to reread stuff. Like, every now and then I will, and I'm sure I will, but like, there are so many things I would reread right now if I had the time, because
Mm-hmm.
I'll read some books and I'm like, those are great. And I keep circling back and think, like you with the Green Bone Saga, like, there are
Yep.
some that just like live rent free in your head. And you're like, I want to experience that again.
Yep.
Like I would reread, reread Boy's Life right now. I would
Yeah.
reread The Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell, like right now. Like I just,
That's
there's
why they're
some that
your
I just
favorites, though, right?
totally, totally.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I'm starting to get the itch to reread more,
yeah.
and maybe,
Which
and
I
look
think
forward to
is
coming
good.
back around to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's helpful too as you get further into like, it's a lot. We read a lot compared
Totally.
to the
Totally.
general public, and it's it can be draining sometimes. And I found one of the
Hmm.
best ways to kind of surf through a reading slump if I don't want to stop reading and put everything down
Mm,
for a little bit is to pick up a reread and to just like go back to that comfort space, like I have
right.
to actively convince myself not to reread Red Rising on a regular basis. Like
I can see that being, yeah.
I'm on, I think I 6 or 7 with book 1, I think. Um yeah, and so I'm
Man.
like I can't read it again because
Six or
it
seven
reads
times?
times. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's so bingeable though. Like when you read that
It is,
first
eh?
book, you're
Yeah.
gonna zip through it. It's gonna be
That first
crazy.
one's also kind of short, right? Yeah, it must fly by. So,
Yeah,
especially for you
it's
having already read it. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of fun because I can kind of like dissect it a little bit more now, and I'm
Yeah.
starting to have like really fleshed out opinions on a bunch of different aspects of the series, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of fun. But
Cool.
well, we've been chatting for almost 2 hours, and I don't want to take up your entire evening.
That flew by.
I know.
Look, I
Yeah,
have not too much going on a Friday night. I'll probably just eat more Dunkaroos and wait
and
to
read.
cook dinner for my wife. Yeah, I'll probably read a little bit, to be
Nice.
honest. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I will probably. I have to turn in my booktuber card. What are you reading right now?
I know. You
Did
know
you
what? I
mention
was
that
like,
already?
I was sort of wondering. I'm
Prepared?
like, are we going to talk about? Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm basically reading Words of
Words of
Radiance. Like
Radiance. Okay.
that is the we
That's
sort
your
of
focus.
organically got there a couple times. That's the focus.
Sure.
I think that's going to take up part of October. It's going to be like definitely the rest of September.
Oh yeah.
I like to balance between a few books. I like to read like 2 books at a
Same.
time usually. I finished a book called The Measure, which I really I liked well enough, and it balanced this one quite well. And I don't know what else I'm going to pick up. I don't know. I kind of feel like picking up a King. I kind of feel like picking up maybe the Reformatory and just kind of like cruising into
Yeah.
October with that one. I want to balance this out with something, because not always do I want to sit down and pick up the one book that I'm focused on. I want to like balance a few
100%.
chapters on something else. It's how my brain works. So I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know what I might ask you for a recommendation based on, maybe I'll give you a couple options. Like, what do you think I should
Yeah.
read? But that's
Absolutely.
Stormlight's the big one. What about you? What are you reading right now?
I'm actually e-reading Iron Prince
Oh,
by
sweet.
Bryce O'Connor and Luke Shmalenko, I think is how I pronounce that correctly.
Cool.
It's 1,000 pages, so I am also reading a chunker.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody's like, how long is it? So I
Wow.
am kind of a tough sell when it comes to progression and lit RPG.
Okay.
Because typically I find that the progression and the stats and the leveling up is kind of the point, and the characters are just sort of a vehicle for that. I'm really enjoying this. This is definitely more in the like the battle school vibes of like Ender's Game, Red Rising kind of direction.
Okay.
But if the main character was at the absolute bottom of the class instead of the top. And I'm really enjoying it.
I like that.
Is it the deepest thing I've ever read? No. Am I having an absolute blast and can't put it down? Yes. So
there you go.
I'm really enjoying it. Yeah,
That's
absolutely. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that.
Sweet.
What am I reading? I'm reading Attack on Titan, kind of interspersed in there as well. Yep.
Yeah. Is that a manga? No, it is, right? Yeah.
It is.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah. I got
to get back to some
13, 14 volumes in now.
Wow.
I'm buddy reading it with Murphy, which basically amounts to Murphy having really thought out, intelligent opinions about it, and me just kind of being like, yeah, I kind of feel this way today about it. So that's basically the vibe we're going for right now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Great.
Yeah. I'm excited. The rest of the year's I got some good books lined up, and we'll see how much of them I can fit in. So we'll see.
That's always the struggle. I know.
But they're not going anywhere. I have plenty.
We're at the panic point of the year where everybody's like, how many months left do I have? Oh my gosh. Like we somehow
how many pages a day is all of this? Oh, okay. Good times. Yeah.
Yeah. I just have to quit my job and lock myself in a cave for 3 months straight. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Sounds
well,
good.
Theo, thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, it's always a blast. I have to say, I was so thrilled to see you come back to BookTube because
thank you.
I
don't know what happened. It kind of just 1 week turned into a month and 2 months turned into 3. And I was like, do I have anything to talk about anymore? I haven't been able to read and then you got to start reading to start feeling like you can add value again. And
but
not
I think
to
we
mention
need to
family
normalize
stuff.
that.
And what,
yeah,
totally,
we need to
100%.
normalize that. Like I think it's important to take steps away because it seems like you've come back in really invigorated and excited to talk about stuff. And
totally, for sure.
So
I appreciate that. It's nice to be around.
Yeah,
I was always stalking from the sidelines, but
I was like, oh, Theo's still in the comments.
Totally,
yeah. Chat, thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching the replay, hello, we see you. Also,
appreciate you guys.
Go down in the oh my gosh, my brain turned off. What is that thing underneath the video?
Description.
Thank you. The description box. This is a professional channel. Go down to the description box.
We need an assistant.
I need a PA.
Production. Yeah.
Yeah. Go down in the description box, click the link to Theo's channel and subscribe.
Find me. Thank you.
Find Theo and tell him to read Red Rising.
I will. I can't wait to talk to you about it when I do. I definitely will. It's a priority. It's my top priority sci-fi series. And as soon as I pick up a sci-fi book, that's going to be it. I promise.
Love that. I can't wait. I'm so excited for you. I think you're really going to like it. I don't want to oversell it because I know that some people don't enjoy the first book, and that's fine.
No, I think I will.
I think you will. Yeah.
Totally.
So,
can't wait.
All right, everybody. Thank you
we'll have
so
another
much.
Chat.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.